There was a time when Neymar da Silva Santos Jr. wasn't just seen as the next big thing. He was seen as the thing, the future, the face of football's tomorrow. Long before the tattoos, the headlines, and the injuries, he was just a skinny kid from Sao Paulo, with dazzling feet and a smile that could stop traffic. But when Neymar played, the world watched. And not just because he was good, because he was different. In a game filled with systems and structure, Neymar danced. He made defenders freeze. He played like a boy in the street, like football was still fun. It wasn't just goals or assists, it was joy. He reminded people why they fell in love with football in the first place. From the earliest age, that joy turned into legend. He grew up poor, sharing a room with his family. At one point living in a small house without electricity. But all he needed was a ball. In futsal courts and on dusty pitches, Neymar was electric. His father, a former footballer, recognized the spark early on and made sure it didn't burn out. By 11, Neymar was already turning heads across Brazil. He joined Santos FC, the same club that gave the world Pelé. The pressure was instant. But the magic? It was natural. He made his professional debut at just 17. Before he was even legal to vote, he was already scoring for fun. Between 2009 and 2013, Neymar scored 136 goals in 225 appearances. He won 3 league titles, a Copa do Brasil, and most importantly, the 2011 Copa Libertadores, the club's first in almost 50 years. He did it all without leaving Brazil. And yet the world already knew his name. That same year, he was voted the 5th best player in the world by the Ballon d'Or panel, without ever stepping foot in Europe. It was unheard of. Real Madrid came knocking. So did Chelsea. But Neymar waited. And in 2013, the moment arrived. He signed for Barcelona. And it didn't take long for the magic to follow. Barcelona was already a superpower, led by Lionel Messi and built on the legacy of Xavi and Iniesta. Neymar didn't just have to adapt, he had to evolve. But he didn't flinch. Instead, he grew. When Luis Suarez joined a year later, the world witnessed something special. Messi, Suarez, Neymar, MSN. It wasn't just a trio. It was vision and raw chaos. And in the 2014-15 season, they completed football's greatest prize, the treble, La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League. Neymar scored 39 goals that season, including in the Champions League final. He was no longer in Messi's shadow. He was standing beside him. And yet, Neymar wanted more. Not just trophies, legacy. He didn't want to be remembered as the sidekick to greatness. He wanted to be greatness itself. In 2017, he made a decision that would define everything that came after. He left Barcelona for Paris Saint-Germain for 222 million euros, the most expensive transfer in football history. Some called it betrayal, others called it brave. But Neymar's choice was clear. He wanted to lead, to be the guy, to step out of Messi's orbit and carve his own universe. Paris welcomed him like a king, and for a while, he ruled. His debut season was stunning: goals, assists, highlight reels that went viral in seconds. The League One title was won with ease. But PSG didn't buy Neymar for domestic dominance. They bought him for Europe, for the Champions League. And that's where the story started to turn. Injury came first. A fractured foot in 2018 ruled him out for months. PSG crashed out of the Champions League without him. Then came another injury in 2019, again during the season's most crucial stretch. Again, PSG fell short. The headlines began to shift, not just about his play, but about his parties, his absences, his clashes with the media. The narrative changed from Neymar the next great to Neymar the wasted potential. Still, there were glimpses. In 2020, he led PSG to their first ever Champions League final. He was electric, tearing apart Atlanta and RB Leipzig in the knockout rounds. But in the final, against Bayern Munich, they couldn't find a goal. PSG lost 1-0. And once again, Neymar walked off the biggest stage with nothing in hand but tears in his eyes. At the same time, his international career followed a path just as frustrating. He had exploded onto the global scene during the 2014 World Cup in Brazil for goals in 5 games, carrying the hopes of a nation. But in the quarterfinal, a brutal knee to the back fractured a vertebra. He missed the semifinal, and Brazil collapsed. losing 7-1 to Germany in one of the most shocking results in football history. In 2018, he returned, but Brazil fell to Belgium in the quarterfinals, and Neymar's reputation took a hit, not for how he played, but for how he fell. Exaggerated dives, rolling on the ground, memes that went viral. He became a punchline more than a headline. In 2019, Brazil won the Copa America, but Neymar missed the tournament through injury. When he returned in 2021, he reached the final, only to lose to Argentina. And to Messi, there's a cruel irony in that. For years, Neymar was supposed to step out of Messi's shadow, but in the end, it was Messi who denied him his most precious moment in a Brazil shirt. And now, as the story moves into its final chapters, Neymar's flame burns differently. In 2023, he left PSG not for another European giant, but for Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. At just 31, he left the elite level of football. Injuries have become more frequent. Motivation seems harder to find. In many ways, Neymar's career feels like a song that ended mid-chorus. Still beautiful, still unforgettable, but unfinished. He has scored over 400 goals. He has won every major domestic title. He remains Brazil's joint all-time top scorer alongside Pelé. And yet, ask fans across the world, and there's still a feeling of what could have been, because Neymar had the talent, maybe more than anyone. On his best day, he was unplayable, untouchable, magic. He didn't play football, he performed it. He turned matches into art. And for a generation, he was the player they tried to copy. The flicks, the feints, the flair, it was all Neymar. But football doesn't just reward talent. It rewards discipline, consistency, grit. Neymar had moments, but the great is a paradox. He achieved so much, and yet left us wanting more. He inspired millions. He won dozens of trophies, but he never won a Ballon d'Or, never won the World Cup, never won the Champions League on his own. He came into the world like a comet, bright, fast, unforgettable. And like a comet, maybe he was never meant to last forever. But for a while, he lit up the sky like no one else. And maybe that's enough. Maybe greatness isn't always about how long the light lasts. Maybe it's about how bright it burned. And Neymar? He burned brilliantly.